Welcome to this Moving Panels One Shot. Let's have a nerdy little conversation. I'm your host, Laramy Wells, and joining me for this Halloween episode in the co-host chair is a man whose backstory would probably get its own limited series. Please welcome from the 80s flick flashback, Mr. Tim Williams. How are you, Tim?
I'm good, Laramy. Thanks for having me. Glad to be back on the podcast again.
Yeah, so last week we did our full Halloween, full review episode of The Empty Man, but it didn't really fall close enough to Halloween. So here's this one shot that is the week of Halloween. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to turn off the lights and look at some of our heroes and our anti-heroes and maybe even some villains who crawled out of the darkness, out of the shadows, out of some tragic and horrific origins. These are not the shining symbols of hope.
No.
Like Superman, but the ones that are forged in pain and loss. And because again, not every hero is born. Some are made. And some are broken. And some never really heal.
No,
as we'll get into some of my list here. But who in your mind, Tim, who's the first hero to come to mind when you talk about a dark, tragic origin story?
I mean, it's Batman. Batman is always going to be probably the best known. I think because, like I said,
it's told in every Batman
every
movie.
Adaptation of Batman there is, you're going to see his parents get killed, whether they're stabbed, murdered. I mean, shot, doesn't matter.
The pearls are going to fly.
What theater they're going to see, whether it's an opera or a movie, it doesn't matter. They're leaving somewhere in a dark alley they shouldn't be going in, and they get murdered in front of their young son, who then takes on vengeance.
Yes, I am vengeance. I am the night.
Yes.
The shot again of Martha and Thomas laying there, and little Bruce on his knees, screaming up to the heavens. And usually there's a street light that's just focused right on them. Absolutely. And that I think Batman, especially for DC, and then I think it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Even though it's not what makes him the superhero, it is the death of Uncle Ben that guides him to be the hero.
Yeah. So that brings up a good point. So are we going to focus more on tragic origins or dark origins, or are those two the same thing?
We're gonna do both.
Okay,
we're gonna do both.
Okay, good.
This is it's Halloween.
I wouldn't put Spider-Man in the dark origin as much as the tragic origin.
Yeah,
but I mean, he was kind of, it had already happened to him at that point, so it was just more him kind of fully embracing the bite and the powers that he had.
And using it for good.
Developed, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because prior to that, he was using it for selfish reasons. Yeah, because honestly, even though, I talked about, these aren't the hopeful origins. I mean, Superman's origin is kind of tragic.
That's true, too. Yeah, absolutely.
He's a baby, being sent off, and his entire race is killed in an explosion,
except for his cousin for some reason. But anyway,
there's Kandor, it's a separate thing.
Yeah.
It turns out there's a whole bunch of other Kryptonians still alive. But let's get into this. I said, you know what? I'm going to start with someone that is not DC, not Marvel, just to go ahead and get into what it really is tragedy. And this is when tragedy and supernatural collide, and that is Eric Draven, aka The Crow.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Yes. Again, this isn't a story of hope at all.
You're really trying to go dark now. Yes.
Yeah, it is horror. It is twisted love, violence. He's murdered along with his fiance. Whether you're talking about the comic, which you can go back. We've covered the episode in the comic. It is this brutal roadside murder. You can go to the 90s movie with Brandon Lee, and it's a murder within their apartment. I have not seen the newer, so I don't know how they're murdered in the new one. but he's murdered alongside of his fiance or wife or whoever it is, depending on the version you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and I'm talking about Eric Draven, but obviously there's even the sequels where it's different people being the Crow, and it's always through some sort of tragedy.
Right.
But he's brought back as like a vengeance of what word am I looking for? Like an angel of death.
Yeah.
Is essentially what he is. And he's not a savior at all. He is just the embodiment of grief and rage, but everything he does is kind of like we talked about with Batman. It's vengeance to bring about justice, which I mean, it is a dark story. I love The Crow. I said this back when we did it. I'm a fan of the Brandon Lee movie. I know some people think it's not a great movie. I'm a fan of the Brandon Lee movie. I am 100% a fan of the comic. The sequels, And like I said, I haven't seen the remake. I've heard not great things.
Yeah, same.
But we shall see. But yeah. What do you think of The Crow?
Yeah, The Crow. I mean, I don't think I was on those episodes because I know I saw the movie. I don't know the comic at all. I mean, that's when you mentioned. I was like, oh yeah, that was a comic book movie. But yeah, I think it's been a long time since I've watched the movies, but I remember it being very dark, very tragic. So yeah, I mean, I think that definitely fits in that mold for sure. But yeah, not probably once again to the broad public, would they know that's a comic book character like they know Batman is a comic book character? So
yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah,
Like again, like you said, everybody knows the Batman story. Everybody knows the Spider-Man story, the Superman story. I wanted to look for some of the ones that people may not know. That was where I was going. But let's move on to another one that again embodies this idea of vengeance, like Batman and the Crow, and that is Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Now, specifically, I'm talking about Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider. I know there's been other variations. Of course, Ghost Rider is the spirit of vengeance.
Right.
But if you go back to the original story with Johnny Blaze, he sells his soul in order to save his father's life, which, of course, then his father dies in some other way. And now he is the avatar of the spirit of vengeance, bound by a demon, different demon depending on which storyline you're following. But he punishes the wicked. He sees it as a curse, something he can't get out of. He sometimes describe it as a pain that never ends. And he's condemned for the rest of his life to fight evil with that. So
yeah, that makes me think of another one that's kind of in this like kind of the same kind of a deal as Constantine, which I think is another great dark origin, dark comic, good movie too. I enjoy the Constantine movie. I know there's some that aren't as big of a fan, but I just rewatched that one a couple months ago and enjoyed it. But yeah, same thing. Like is once again is the hero kind of anti-hero. But yeah, like their superpower, they see it more as a curse than a gift. And even though they are kind of helping people, it doesn't bring them any solace or any hope with their power.
Yeah. You brought up Constantine. Do you know anything about Constantine's backstory?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. So I can't because I wasn't prepared to have this down. So his original comic was called Hellblazer.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that. Didn't know that.
So it's connected with the Sandman universe and all that. So I don't know who actually came up with this exact origin, and it's not really an origin, but his mother died during childbirth.
Okay. Yeah.
She was pregnant with twins. Found out that John strangled his own twin.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing this before. Yeah.
Yeah, with his umbilical cord.
Yeah,
I could say it. and then he has an abusive father, and that part of, you could say, what leads him to the dark arts. And so, yeah, I will say, so he does have that tragic backstory, but honestly, John Constantine is a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Even though sometimes he can be a little selfish and whatnot. There is the stories where he does a lot of what he does for other people. He's always there. But yeah, that's a good one to bring up, Constantine. Let's move into somebody that let's move away from the Hellfire. And let's bring up somebody else that people know about, and that's Wolverine, aka James Howlett.
Yeah.
Most people go, James who? That's his name. His name's not actually Logan.
Oh yeah, I thought it was. No. I thought his name was Ryan Reynolds. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What? So let's talk about Wolverine. He was a child who his mutant ability was his claws, but they were bone claws, and he murders his own father. His healing factor keeps him alive and slowly aging.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a lot older. And the movies did a good job representing that.
Mm-hmm.
But he even talks about how anytime he's shot or when his claws come out or all of that, that it actually does hurt.
Right.
And he pretty much has lived for hundreds of years and just is in constant pain. Like he's ultimately, Wolverine is ultimately a living paradox. Like he's the man who can't die, but yet he's the man who can't die, but he never stops mourning.
Right.
What do you think of the idea? I mean, it's Halloween, we get into vampires, and all that. What do you think the idea is of essentially, do you see immortality as a curse?
Ooh, you're getting into the deep questions.
Yeah.
I think it can be, once again, maybe it's perspective, like how you view it. Like you have the opportunity to continue to do good, with no fear of that ultimate consequence of losing your life to help someone else. But at the same time, you can't build any real relationships because everyone that you'll ever care about will eventually die and you won't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it is definitely a paradox of, I have this ability that will allow me to help people without that fear of being killed, but at the same time, I will outlive everyone that I save.
Which they've done in several. Highlander has dealt with that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the show that starred Ian Grufflold called Forever Night?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Was it called Forever Night? No, it wasn't called Forever Night.
It was called something else.
Forever Night was another show.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. I can't remember what the show he was on.
He was a doctor, right?
He was a doctor, and he was immortal. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one. But yeah, I sometimes think about that too. I mean, there's so many great stories about immortal characters and what they experience and live through. And some of them do it as a positive thing. Some of them do it as a negative thing. But of course, Wolverine's origin doesn't even end there. Like the darkness and all, the whole being Weapon X and going through the experiments with adamantium and the everything he had that he was subject to and all of that is just it's horrible. And he is one of those characters that, as much good as he does, it seems like nothing ever goes right for him. I mean, you even get into the Old Man Logan storyline, and it's just the stuff that he has had to go through in his life. It's not just a dark origin. He lives a dark
life. Yeah,
a tragic life. Which, speaking of a character who has kind of a second round that is torture and all that, let's talk about Jason Todd. So, are you aware of who Jason Todd is?
I'm racking my brain trying to
figure out who it is. I can tell on your face. You're like, oh, okay, Jason Todd.
I've heard those two names put together before. Yeah.
Yes. So he was the second Robin after Dick Grayson.
Okay.
And he is the Robin that in the comic books, comic fans, of course, did not like him. And so DC decided, well, you know what? We'll let you decide his fate. So they had an issue where Robin is essentially beaten by the Joker with a crowbar.
Mm.
And then it was, does Robin live? Call this number.
Wow.
And people voted for Robin to die. And so you've got the death in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the death of Jason Todd. But then they decided to bring him back. And when they bring him back as Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And he is just full of rage and resentment. And he's not this bright, boy wonder, Batman's apprentice anymore.
Right.
He is an example. The character is an example of what happens when a hero loses their faith in being a hero. Because as the Red Hood, Jason doesn't just fight. He doesn't just fight criminals like he did as Robin. He punishes them. He kills them. He murders them. He turns everything that Batman stands for, turns it completely around. And so you've got Jason Todd here as Red Hood with his tragic origin once he becomes Red Hood, and he challenges Batman's moral code and the cost of justice, which is a great storyline. I highly recommend the Under the Red Hood animated movie if you've never seen it and don't know much of the story. But yeah, that's another one I got to bring in because this is where it starts getting into. Again, you're looking at he was a child, and there's always that stuff about putting Batman putting his Robins, which are just children, out there into this dangerous world. And Jason Todd suffers this great trauma, and so when he returns from the grave and is Red Hood, we get to see that essentially his version of the way he deals with that trauma. And there are so many characters that a trauma follows them. And we're not going to go into detail about all of them, but you got Jessica Jones. You've got Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Yeah.
But the one I want to focus on is Max Einshart, which you may not recognize the name because you're probably used to his name in the movies, but it's Magneto.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Eric, I forgot what his name is in the movies, but in the comic books his name is Max. But the origin story is pretty much the same. He was born into a Jewish family, and he witnesses the Holocaust and all the horrors associated with it, and everything dealing with concentration camps, which honestly, I think I like that his story is based off of that because it works so well for the X-Men story. I think it gets harder and harder for his story to be based off of that as time goes along.
Right.
Because how exactly old could Magneto be?
Right.
But yeah, so you do have in the actual X-Men comics, he does grow up. He knows he has these mutant abilities. He doesn't immediately go to the side of a villain. Or an anti-hero, depending on how you view Magneto's cause. He tries to live a normal life. He even gets married. He has a child. But then when the villagers of the village he's living in discover that he is a mutant, they riot against him, essentially trying to murder him. And it's that trauma.
Right.
And they do end up killing his wife and daughter. He witnesses his wife and daughter be killed in all of this. And it is that which we got to see in one of the newer X-Men movies. We got to see kind of that story get played out in another way with the Michael Fassbender version. But that's, of course, what leads him to become Magneto. And that's what leads him to have this idea of, the conviction that humanity will always fear and try to destroy anyone who's different.
Right.
Which is the great story about the X-Men. And one of the reasons why the X-Men they can adapt to whatever, because sadly in our world that always exists.
Right.
But I think I love that Magneto does hold that origin, and he is the central focus and that they use that to make him even a sympathetic villain. Because you're going, man, this dark origin that he has, can you blame the guy? Like, that's kind of what you get into. What are your thoughts on Magneto?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, not knowing the full story, like, of course, I've seen what's in the movie of the Holocaust, but not knowing really about the wife and the daughter, or that's not as, familiar to me as the Holocaust. But true. I mean, we're the old question: are we shaped by our circumstances, or were we that way whether the circumstances happened to us or not? And so, but trauma is tricky. I mean, it triggers things in people that you wouldn't expect them to do, and so we see that with the heroes. And even going back to talking about losing faith in being a hero. I mean, we've seen that story. That's been a more prominent story in other, adaptations and other comics, even more recently. So it's an interesting storyline to pursue, and as you said, it kind of gives us some sympathy for even people we wouldn't really necessarily like. We can still be sympathetic because we've all experienced some type of trauma, or if we haven't, we will, and there will be some of that sympathy for them, even if we don't agree with their every decision they make. But yeah, it's a good one.
And that just makes me I'll just bring up briefly. Of course, I've always said the most sympathetic villain in existence in comic books is Mr. Freeze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His backstory with being a scientist who is trying to find a cure for his wife who has this very rare disease. And then when his boss or the person who's funding him, ends up turning on him and essentially killing his wife and pushing him into chemicals or into a machine or depending on whatever version you watch,
right? And
turning him into Mr. Freeze. You kind of feel for him a little bit. Yes, he goes about things in the wrong way, but he now lives a life in which it's a struggle for him to just survive and to live, and he does what he needs to do, but unfortunately he does it on the wrong side. Man, there's so many characters I could bring up. I'm just looking through the list that I put down on my, and we don't have time for all of them.
No.
There's Martian Manhunter. He's got a horrific backstory. Rocket Raccoon, which of course that story is told out in a way in the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right.
Daredevil you could even put there because he's not only being blinded as a child, but then his father is murdered, which leaves him as an orphan. So many characters that we could probably talk about, but we're not going to make this extremely long. Rorschach. Yeah, I have Rorschach on my list.
Yeah.
Rorschach, another great character to talk about. I mean, a man that's so scarred by the cruelty of the world that he only sees in absolutes. There's no gray for him.
Right.
There's no compromise. There's just you do right or you do wrong, and you're punished for it.
Yeah.
And the way that Alan Moore even displays that with his mask, and the way they did it in the movie by making it a mask that moves, it's the way he's viewing it's his worldview. The fact that it's constantly shifting, it's never settled. And yeah, Rorschach is the horror of what happens when trauma crosses ideology. And so yeah, great character there. And there's some that we haven't mentioned. Moon Knight is another.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and nip this conversation for this one. But yeah, Halloween, perfect time.
Yeah.
For this conversation, talking about heroes that are born out of darkness, and their stories are definitely haunting. And it doesn't always have to be demons. It doesn't always have to be, supernatural. As we just talked about with a few of these characters, you've got characters like the Crow who can't rest.
Right.
You've got characters like the Punisher who can't forgive. You've got characters like Wolverine who can't really truly feel happiness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, other characters are popping in my Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, man.
Man, the stuff you can get into with Harley Quinn,
Mm-hmm.
and what she's experiencing as essentially her origin comes from abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like you said, characters like Moon Knight, who it's a disability. He can't escape himself because of his personality disorder. But these are characters that we root for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even some of the villains we've talked about, we root for. We admire them. Because one thing they do is no matter how tragic their story is, they keep fighting for what they believe in, which is proof that even the most broken of us can still protect, and that even in our pain, we can find purpose. And I mean, life may be scary. Sometimes we feel like the darkness will never leave us, but there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. You make your decision. You learn to live with it the way you learn to live with it. I can't think of any other way to put that. But again, I think this was a great conversation, and thank you, Tim, for joining me for this Halloween week one-shot episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good conversation. It makes me want to go back and watch a couple of dark origin movies. So,
and that is what we strive here at Moving Panels. Get you out there reading the comics, or rewatching these movies. It's a great art form, great literary art there that people sometimes put on the back burner. But man, if I had two things. If I had a comic book store near me, I would go out and just buy up their $1 bin. And then if I lived in a location that had trick-or-treaters, I don't. I live on a house that's on a very busy road. No one's coming walking down the street.
Right.
But if I did, I'd pass out comic books for Halloween.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea. That would be very cool.
That would be interesting to know. I know that people always joke about, there's that one guy that passes out the toothbrushes.
Yeah.
I
did have a neighbor like that when I was a kid. Yeah.
Did you ever have? We're going to go off on a tangent here, but this is fun. Did you ever have the person that just handed out loose change?
No, I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure that happened to me once.
Okay.
They just had little baggies of loose change, and they would just drop the loose change.
No. I had the neighbor that would drop fruit, like apples and oranges and bananas, and then I had the dentist that would it was either a toothbrush or like the dental floss. So.
What about the homemade popcorn balls?
Yes, I remember those. I never liked them.
I didn't either. Because usually the popcorn was stale.
Yes, always.
Or they used so much sugar that it was like hard to eat.
Oh, yeah. You just crush your teeth, yeah.
Yeah.
Or did you ever get the little baggies of like homemade cookies? And you're like,
I probably did.
I'm afraid to eat this because you know, it's scary that you're more afraid to eat what a neighbor made than what's bought in the store.
Yeah. But of course, we were both kids right at the age when they were talking about having to check your candy and everything. Yeah.
Look out for the needles.
And the razor blade in the apple. Yeah. It was always, don't eat the stuff that wasn't prepackaged is what it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. We hope you have a happy Halloween. Go out there and have some fun. And maybe somebody will be inspired to give away some comics at Halloween. But we'll go ahead and wrap things up for today. For Moving Panels, I'm Laramy Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.